So there is often this conversation about Nigerian writers who reside abroad and those whose primary location is in Nigeria. And I see this as a false dichotomy. I think that unless a writer has not set foot in Nigeria for decades, I think that writers who, whether they reside in Nigeria or for now abroad, have a shared experience of the same country. And the presence, in fact, of the internet makes this shared experience even more vivid. So when we talk about Nigerian literature, I don't think it's useful at all to begin to separate along lines of those of my colleagues who live in the country and those of us who live outside of the country. I think that a more useful way to look at Nigeria is that there are some Nigerian writers who have a more sympathetic sensibility of their country and those who have a somewhat alienated sensibility. I also think that quite honestly, there are those who write good books and those whose books are, either merely competent or perhaps even mediocre. So that for me is a useful way to look at writers, and there are writers who are writing out of Nigeria, whose vision, whose craftsmanship, whose attitude to the work is exemplary, and there are those in the diaspora, so to say, who also exemplify the same attributes. So that tension, I think we must reject, because it's also the same kind of tension that we find even outside of writing. There's a sense in which sometimes Nigerians who live in the country feel that those of us who live outside of the country do not participate deeply enough in the life of Nigeria. And so when you talk about perhaps the things that are not working in our country, often you get a pushback from those of our fellow citizens who live in the country. And part of the phraseology they use is to say that you are not on ground, whatever that means. And my response is that sometimes if you live abroad, you are more on ground than those Nigerians who reside within the country. At any rate, our emotional investment in the country is what counts. And I know that there are lots of us who live outside of the country who are very emotionally engaged with the affairs of Nigeria. For 18 years, for example, I wrote a weekly column that was published by several Nigerian newspapers and was widely syndicated online. In order to write those columns, I had to visit Nigeria, fairly frequently, 2-3 times, sometimes 4 times a year. I had to go to different parts of Nigeria. I was constantly on the phone with Nigerians at all different levels, those who were policymakers as well as those who were analysts of policy. And so I read numerous Nigerian newspapers online on a daily basis. So I actually prided myself in having perhaps a more rounded, a more penetrating insight into the country Nigeria than a lot of my contemporaries who are based in the country. So again, I think that we should just absolutely reject this whole notion of writers in the diaspora and those at home. In the end, a work of literature rises or falls, not based on the location, essentially, of the writer, but based on the acuity of vision that a writer brings to his or her work. And I think that there are writers based in Nigeria whose books are set in Nigeria who are doing extraordinary work, and the same claim can be made for some of us who make our primary home outside of the country. So, those are, I think, my sense of that question. Thank you.